The council chamber on Zenith Prime had never been this quiet. Ambassador Threlix stood at the center of the vast circular room, his crystalline body reflecting the dim emergency lights. Around him, representatives from 47 species sat in their specialized seats, each designed for their unique forms. Some breathed methane, others required extreme cold. Some were made of energy, others of living stone, but today they all shared the same expression: fear. 17 worlds, Threlix said, his voice translator converting his light pulses into words everyone could understand. In just 3 months, 17 colony worlds have been completely consumed. A hologram appeared above the center platform. It showed a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green continents. Then the image changed. Black ships, organic and writhing, surrounded the world. Within hours, the surface turned gray. Within days, nothing remained but a lifeless rock. The Ravager swarm. High Commander Zix clicked from his seat. The insectoid warrior's mandibles clacked nervously. We have thrown everything at them. Energy weapons, plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes. Nothing works for long. They adapt. They learn. They consume. Dr. Alara floated in her containment suit, the gaseous beings' form swirling with agitation. My analysis shows they are from another dimension. The rift in the outer rim was not natural. Something opened it or they broke through. Either way, they are here now and they are hungry. A small mammalian delegate raised a paw. What about the defense fleets? The Armada of the core worlds? Zix's head lowered. Gone. The third Armada engaged them at the Kelvor system. Out of 300 ships, only 12 escaped. The Ravagers boarded our vessels. Our crews, he paused, our crews do not fight well in close combat. We are not built for it, silence fell again. It was true. Most council species had evolved on peaceful worlds. They had achieved space travel through cooperation and intelligence, not through conflict. War was something they studied, not something they lived. Then what do we do? Someone asked. Run, hide, wait to die? Threlix touched a control panel. There is one option. A desperate one. Another hologram appeared showing the galactic map. Thousands of green dots represented council worlds. Red dots showed the Ravager advance. But there were also yellow dots scattered throughout the galaxy. These are uncontacted species, Threlix explained. Races we have observed but not approached. Some are not ready. Others are... He hesitated. Too dangerous. Dangerous? Dr. Ilara pulsed forward. Dangerous how? They come from what we classify as death worlds. Planets where survival itself is a daily battle. High gravity, toxic atmospheres, extreme weather, abundant predators. Most council species would die within hours on such worlds. A reptilian delegate hissed. And you want to contact these savages? Ask them for help? They probably lack faster than light travel. Some do have it, Threlix admitted. Primitive versions, but functional. More importantly, they have something we lack. They know how to fight. They evolved fighting. The chamber erupted in argument. Some delegates refused to consider it. Others were desperate enough to try anything. Threlix let them argue for several minutes before raising all 6 of his limbs for silence. I propose we send a distress call to all species in our database, including the quarantined ones. Let them decide if they want to help. And if they decide to attack us instead, the reptilian asked. Then we face the same fate we face now, Threlix said quietly, but faster. A vote was called. It passed by a narrow margin. Dr. Ilara was tasked with preparing the message and the list of recipients. As the chamber emptied, she approached Threlix. There is one entry I must show you, she said, pulling up a file. The header read, Species 7842 Terran, Designation Humanity, Status Quarantine, Death World Extreme. Threlix read through the file. His crystalline form dimmed with each line. The planet these creatures called Earth was a nightmare. Gravity 30% higher than standard. An atmosphere so rich in oxygen it would make most species dizzy or sick. Tectonic plates that constantly shifted, causing earthquakes. Weather patterns that could kill in minutes. Oceans filled with salt and predators. And everywhere, creatures that existed only to kill and eat other creatures. And the humans? Threlix asked. They are the apex predators, Dr. Ilara said. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the most persistent. They evolved as pursuit hunters. They chase prey for days until it collapses from exhaustion. They sweat to cool their bodies, allowing them to run in heat that would kill their prey. They have binocular vision for tracking. They can throw objects with incredible accuracy. They can eat almost anything organic, even things that are poisonous because their bodies are so good at filtering toxins. And their society? Violent. Their entire history is warfare. They have killed billions of their own kind in conflicts. They created weapons that can destroy their entire planet. They have diseases that killed millions. They have survived ice ages, meteor strikes, volcanic super eruptions. They terraform their own planet to suit their needs. Ambassador, they are the most dangerous species in our database. Threlix was quiet for a long moment. Include them in the message, are you certain? No, but we are out of options. Dr. Ilara prepared the distress call. It was simple and direct. It explained the threat. It asked for help. It provided coordinates. It promised nothing because the council had nothing to promise. The message was encoded in mathematics, the universal language. It was broadcast on every frequency. It was sent through every communication method known to the council. And then they waited 3 days past. A few responses came in. Uncontacted species confused by the message. Others too far away to help. One species agreed to send a small support fleet, though it would take months to arrive. Then, on the 3rd day, a new signal reached Zenith Prime. Dr. Ilara was the first to detect it. The origin point made her containment suit flicker with shock. Threlix, she called. We have a response from the Sol system. The ambassador rushed to the communications center. The humans, what do they say? The message was in their language, but the AI translated it instantly. It was brief. Message received, assistance en route, hold position. United Earth Space Command. Threlix felt his form grow cold. They are coming. We asked for help from a death world, and they are actually coming. The news spread through the council within hours. Reactions were mixed. Some felt hope. Others felt terror. A few began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. They had sent an SOS to the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. High Commander Zix pulled up everything the council had on human military capability. It was limited. Observation probes had watched Earth from a distance. They had seen the humans' wars. They had seen their weapons. Primitive kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, fission and fusion bombs, projectile-based firearms, no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no quantum technology. They cannot possibly help us, Zix said. Their weapons are thousands of years outdated. But Dr. Ilara was reviewing other data. Human endurance, human aggression, human refusal to surrender even when facing certain death. She pulled up videos from their history. Humans fighting in conditions that would kill council species instantly. Humans climbing mountains for no reason. Humans diving into deep oceans. Humans launching themselves into space in primitive chemical rockets. Commander, she said slowly, I do not think we understand what we have summoned. On Zenith Prime, the council waited. The Ravager swarm was advancing, and somewhere in the darkness of space, the Deathworlder fleet was coming. The question was no longer if they would arrive. The question was what would happen when they did. The message appeared on every screen in Earth's orbital station at exactly 0347 hours. Lieutenant Kim Torres was monitoring routine communications when her console lit up with signals she had never seen before. Mathematical patterns, prime numbers, binary sequences that resolved into images. Sir, she called to the watch commander, you need to see this. Within minutes, the entire command center was crowded around her station. Within an hour, the message had been forwarded to Geneva Orbital, to the United Earth Space Command headquarters, to every government on the planet. Within 3 hours, the world knew humanity was not alone. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the Situation Room, staring at the translated message on the main screen. Around her, military officers from every nation argued in a dozen languages. The translator struggled to keep up. It could be a hoax, someone said. It could be a trap, another argued. It could be our first contact with alien life, Chen said, her voice cutting through the noise. And they are asking for help, the room quieted. Everyone turned to look at the Admiral. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she commanded attention. Her face bore scars from the Mars Rebellion, when colonists had fought for independence. She had led the peace negotiations that ended that war. She understood both combat and diplomacy. Show me the images again, she ordered. The screen displayed the holograms the aliens had sent. Worlds consumed by black organic ships. Fleets destroyed. Populations gone. And at the end, coordinates. A location far beyond human space, but not impossibly far. How long to reach those coordinates? Chen asked. Captain Marcus Webb, standing at his station, ran the calculations. With our newest FTL drives, approximately 3 weeks, that assumes we push the engines hard and take the direct route through some unstable regions of space. Unstable how? High radiation, gravity anomalies. Routes our survey ships avoid because they are dangerous. Chen nodded slowly. If we go, how many ships can we send? Webb pulled up the fleet roster. The third fleet is currently in dock for resupply after exercises. That's 48 ships, including the new dreadnought Indomitable. The fifth fleet is on patrol in the outer system. Another 37 ships. The second fleet could be recalled from the Jupiter stations. That's 62 more. So approximately 150 ships. Yes, ma'am. Though compared to the alien fleets shown in these images, we would be significantly outnumbered and outgunned. The room erupted in argument again. Many urged caution. Humanity had just achieved reliable faster-than-light travel only 20 years ago. They had colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan, but they were still a single-system species. Going to an alien war zone could be suicide. Or, Chen said quietly, we could do nothing, stay here, stay safe, and hope these ravagers, after consuming their galaxy, never find us. An AI construct flickered to life on one of the screens. Athena, the strategic warfare AI, had been running probability models. Admiral, Athena said in her calm synthetic voice, based on the expansion rate shown in the alien data, if the Ravager swarm is not stopped, they will likely discover Earth within 14 to 18 months. Human space is not hidden. Our radio signals have been broadcasting for over 2 centuries. We are visible. The room went silent. So we fight them there, Chen said, or we fight them here. I prefer fighting them there. The debate continued for hours. It went up to the Earth Council, the global government formed after the Mars Rebellion. Politicians argued. Scientists urged caution. Military commanders were divided. But in the end, a simple fact decided the vote. Humanity had nowhere to run. Earth was their only home. If the threat was real, ignoring it meant eventual extinction. The vote passed. Humanity would respond to the alien distress call. Admiral Chen was given command of the mission. She immediately began preparations. Captain Webb and the Indomitable would serve as her flagship. The combined fleet would depart in 72 hours. The announcement was broadcast worldwide. Reactions were mixed. Some called it humanity's finest moment, reaching out to help unknown aliens. Others called it insanity, risking human lives for strangers. Protests formed in major cities. Religious leaders debated what it meant for humanity's place in the universe. But in military bases around Earth and across the solar system, men and women reported for duty. Marines loaded equipment. Engineers prepped ships. Pilots ran simulations. Humanity was going to war. On the Indomitable, Captain Webb walked through the hangar bay inspecting his ship. The Dreadnought was the newest in the fleet, built with human engineering at its finest. Heavy armor plating made from titanium ceramic composites, railguns that could fire projectiles at a fraction of light speed, nuclear missiles with yields measured in megatons, point defense systems with thousands of rounds per minute, and close-quarters weapons because humans planned for boarding actions. Beautiful, isn't she? A voice said. Webb turned to see Admiral Chen approaching. She ran her hand along the hull plating. 30 centimeters of armor, Webb said. Redundant systems throughout. She can lose half her modules and still fight. And the crew? 2,300 personnel. Marines, pilots, engineers. All volunteers, Chen nodded. Do they understand what we are heading into? I told them the truth, ma'am. We are answering a distress call from aliens we have never met. We will face an enemy we do not understand. We might not come back. And? Webb smiled. I had to turn volunteers away. Every ship is over capacity. We will have people sleeping in hallways. Chen was not surprised. Humanity had always run toward danger, not away from it. It was how they had survived on Earth. It was how they had colonized harsh moons and planets. It was in their nature. The next 2 days were a blur of activity. Ships were loaded. Routes were programmed. Families said goodbye to their loved ones. The media covered everything. Cameras everywhere. On the third day, the fleet assembled in orbit around Earth. 147 ships, ranging from small destroyers to massive dreadnoughts. It was the largest military fleet humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Chen broadcast a message to all ships. 3 days ago, we learned we are not alone in the universe. We learned that somewhere out there people are dying. They asked for help, and we answered. I will not lie to you. What we are about to do is dangerous. We are taking our primitive ships into unknown space to face an enemy that has destroyed advanced civilizations. Many of you may not return home. She paused, looking at the faces on the screens. Young and old. Men and women from every nation on Earth. But this is who we are. Humanity has always stood up when others fell. We have always fought against impossible odds. We do not do this because it is easy. We do this because someone has to. And if not us, then who? Cheers erupted across the fleet. Webb watched his crew respond. They were afraid. He could see it in their eyes. But they were also determined. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, prepare for FTL jump. Navigation, plot course to provided coordinates. Engineering, push those engines as hard as they can take. Communications, send a message to the aliens. What should it say, ma'am? The communications officer asked. Chen thought for a moment. Message received. Assistance en route. Hold position. The message was sent, traveling faster than light toward Zenith Prime, and then, with a flash of blue light, the human fleet entered hyperspace. On Zenith Prime, Ambassador Threlix received the message. His crystalline body went dark with dread. The response had been immediate. The humans had not hesitated, had not negotiated, had not asked for payment. They simply said they were coming. Dr. Eilera, Threlix called. How long until they arrive? Based on their propulsion technology? Months, perhaps a year. 3 weeks later, alarms sounded on Zenith Prime. An entire fleet was dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. 147 ships. Human ships, how? Dr. Eilera gasped. How did they get here so fast? High Commander Zix pulled up the data. They traveled through the Kestrel corridor. That region has radiation levels that would kill any council species in minutes. The gravity wells would tear most ships apart. Threlix stared at the approaching fleet. The ships were crude by council standards. Metal hulls covered in armor, no energy shields. No elegant designs. They looked like something built to survive, not to impress. Send them docking coordinates, Threlix ordered, and someone find out how to communicate with them. The Deathworlders are here. The hologram flickered to life in the command center on Zenith Prime. For the first time, the council military leadership looked upon the face of a human. Admiral Sarah Chen appeared in the projection, standing on the bridge of her ship. She wore a dark blue uniform with various insignia. Her face showed age and experience. Behind her, other humans worked at stations, moving with purpose. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command, she said. We received your distress call. We are here to help. High Commander Zix clicked forward. His insectoid form towered in the chamber, but in the hologram, he and Chen appeared equal-sized. I am High Commander Zix of the Galactic Council Defense Force. We did not expect you to arrive so quickly. You said it was urgent, Chen replied simply. Where is the enemy? Threlix stepped into the hologram's view. Ambassador Threlix, welcome to Zenith Prime. The Ravager swarm is currently 3 systems away at Corvin. They are consuming the colonies there. Our remaining fleet is trying to hold them back, but... He did not finish the sentence. Show me, Chen said. A tactical display appeared between them. Red symbols showed the Ravager position. A small cluster of green symbols showed the Council fleet. The humans studied it silently. Your fleet has only 42 ships remaining at that position, Captain Webb observed from behind Chen. According to your data, you started with over 300. Yes, Zix said quietly. The Ravagers adapt to our weapons quickly. Our energy-based systems are effective for the first engagement. Then they become nearly useless. And close combat? Chen asked. We do not engage in close combat, Dr. Eilera said, floating into view. Our species are not built for physical confrontation. When they board our ships, we cannot stop them. Chen exchanged glances with Webb. The human officers appeared to be communicating silently. Finally, Chen nodded. We will proceed to Corvin immediately, Chen said. Our fleet is ready for combat. Zix's mandibles clicked nervously. Admiral, I mean no offense, but I must be direct. Your weapons appear to be kinetic-based. Projectile weapons. We used such technology thousands of years ago. They will not be effective against... Commander, Chen interrupted, her voice firm but not angry. We came 3 weeks through space that your species considers lethal. We did not do that to run away from a fight. Trust that we know what we are doing. The hologram ended. The council leaders stood in silence. They are going to get themselves killed, Zix said. Those primitive ships against the Ravager swarm? It will be a massacre, perhaps, Threllick said. Or perhaps we are about to learn why one does not challenge a species from a death world. The human fleet arrived at the Corvin system 18 hours later. What they found was chaos. 3 colony worlds were already gray and lifeless. The Council fleet was in full retreat, black Ravager ships pursuing them. As the humans watched, 2 Council vessels were overtaken. The organic enemy ships latched onto them like parasites. Within minutes, the Council ships went dark. All ships, battle stations, Chen ordered. Deploy for defensive formation Alpha 7. Protect those Council vessels. The human fleet moved into position, placing themselves between the retreating Council ships and the pursuing Ravagers. The Ravagers, sensing new prey, changed course. Dozens of the organic ships broke off and headed toward the humans. On the Council flagship, Commander Zix watched in horror. They are going to be slaughtered. Those humans do not even have shields, but then the human ships opened fire. Railguns launched ferrous projectiles at hypersonic speeds. The tungsten rounds tore through Ravager hulls like paper. Nuclear missiles streaked across space, detonating in brilliant flashes. The Ravagers, which had adapted to energy weapons, had no defense against simple kinetic force. 6 Ravager ships were destroyed in the first salvo. 8 more were crippled. The swarm hesitated, something the Council had never seen before. They are effective, Dr. Ilara whispered, watching the engagement. More Ravagers approached, this time spreading out. They attempted to surround the human fleet. But the human ships maneuvered aggressively, not retreating but advancing. They chased individual Ravager ships, firing constantly. Point defense systems threw up walls of metal, shredding any Ravagers that got too close. One group of Ravagers managed to breach the perimeter. 20 organic ships descended on a human destroyer. They latched onto the hull and began burning through. The Indomitable is moving to assist, Zix observed. No, Dr. Ilara said, her form swirling. Look closer. The destroyer is not calling for help. Inside the destroyer, alarms blared. Hull breach on decks 3 through 5, a voice reported. They are inside the ship. Marines, you are cleared to engage, the captain ordered calmly. Weapons free. In the corridors of the ship, human Marines in powered armor took position. They carried weapons that would have seemed ancient to the Council. Rifles that fired metal bullets, shotguns loaded with explosive rounds, magnetic accelerator weapons, and for close-range blades and impact weapons. The Ravagers burst through the hull. They were hideous creatures, all teeth and claws and writhing tentacles. They had consumed millions across dozens of worlds. They were perfect killing machines, adapted from countless species. They had never faced humans. The Marines opened fire. The corridor filled with noise and flame. Ravagers fell, their organic bodies torn apart by the hail of metal. Those that survived the initial barrage charged forward, only to meet humans in hand-to-hand combat. The Council species would have been torn apart. But humans were different. They were pursuit predators from a death world. Their bones were dense and strong. Their muscles were reinforced by evolution on a high-gravity planet. Their ancestors had hunted megafauna to extinction using only stone tools and persistence. A Marine grabbed a Ravager by its limb and slammed it into the wall with enough force to crack the creature's carapace. Another Marine fired a shotgun at point-blank range, the explosive rounds turning the enemy into pulp. A third used a blade, cutting through Ravager flesh with trained precision. On Zenith Prime, Dr. Ilara watched in stunned silence. They are fighting hand-to-hand. They are winning hand-to-hand. Impossible, Zix breathed. Nothing fights the Ravagers in close combat and survives. Humans do, Threllick said quietly. Because on their world, everything fights in close combat. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Ravagers retreated. For the first time since they had entered this dimension, they ran from an enemy. Human casualties were significant. 7 ships destroyed, 15 damaged, over 3,000 dead. But the Ravager losses were catastrophic. Over 200 ships destroyed, hundreds more damaged. The swarm had been broken. Admiral Chen opened a communication channel to the Council fleet. Commander Zix, are your ships still operational? Zix took a moment to respond. Yes, Admiral. Thanks to you, we survived. Good, regroup with our fleet. We need to discuss tactics. Admiral, I must apologize. I underestimated your capabilities. Chen's expression did not change. Commander, you sent a distress call to every species in your database. That shows wisdom, not weakness. You were desperate enough to ask for help from a species you feared. That takes courage. But our weapons are so much more advanced. Advanced does not mean better, Chen interrupted. Different enemies require different solutions. You adapted to one type of warfare. We adapted to another. Together we are stronger. A new alarm sounded. Dr. Ilara's voice came through, panicked. Admiral! Commander! Long-range sensors are detecting massive movement. The main Ravager swarm is on approach. I am reading. She paused, recalculating. Over 10,000 ships. The channel went silent. 10,000 Ravager ships against less than 200 Council and human vessels combined. The battle they had just won was nothing compared to what was coming. Captain Webb looked at Chen. Admiral? Chen stared at the tactical display. She thought of Earth, her home world. She thought of the billions of humans living their lives, unaware of the threat lurking in the dark. She thought of her crew who had volunteered knowing they might not return. Send a message to all ships, Chen said. Human and Council both. Tell them the swarm is coming. Tell them this is where we make our stand. Tell them. She paused, then smiled grimly. Tell them welcome to the fight. The fleet began preparations. Engineers worked frantically to repair damaged ships. Marines reloaded ammunition. Medical bays treated the wounded. Supplies were shared between human and Council vessels. And in the dark of space, the Ravager swarm approached like a black tide. The stars themselves seemed to dim as the massive fleet advanced. The Deathworlders and their new allies waited. The real battle was about to begin. The sensors detected them first. A darkness spreading across space, blotting out the stars. 10,000 Ravager ships, maybe more. The counting system struggled to keep up as the swarm continued to arrive from the depths of space. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Webb watched the tactical display with growing concern. Admiral, at current count we are outnumbered 50-1. Admiral Chen stood with her arms crossed, her face calm. Around her, the bridge crew worked at their stations. No panic, no chaos. Just professionals doing their jobs. Recommendations, Captain? The Council fleet wants to retreat, Webb said. Commander Zix is requesting we fall back to a defensive position at Zenith Prime. If we retreat, what happens to the colonies here? They die, ma'am. The 3 million people still evacuating from Corvin 4 will be consumed. Chen was quiet for a moment. She thought of her own world, Earth. She thought of what humanity would want her to do. The answer was clear. Signal to all ships, Chen said. We hold this line. No retreat. The communications officer hesitated. Ma'am, the Council ships, tell Commander Zix that we are staying. He may do as he wishes with his fleet. But humanity stands here. The message was sent. On the Council flagship, Zix received it with a mix of shock and shame. The humans, with their primitive ships and weapons, were willing to die to protect Council citizens. His own instinct was to run, to preserve his forces. But how could he retreat when these Deathworlders stood firm? Signal to all Council ships, Zix ordered. We will stand with the humans. Formation defensive wall, protect the evacuation transports. Dr. Ilara floated beside him. Commander, this is suicide. We cannot win against these numbers. No, Zix agreed. But perhaps we can buy time. Perhaps we can save those civilians. And perhaps the humans know something we do not. On the Indomitable, Chen was organizing the human fleet. All capital ships form the center line. Destroyers on the flanks. When they come, I want concentrated fire on their largest ships. Do not waste ammunition on small targets. Captain Webb, prepare the Tunguska Protocol. Webb's eyes widened. Admiral, that protocol is for last resort only. The radiation, I am aware of the consequences, Captain. Prepare it anyway. The Ravager swarm entered weapons range. The organic ships moved like a school of fish, flowing around obstacles, coordinating without visible signals. They began to accelerate toward the human Council defensive line. All ships open fire, Chen ordered. The battle began. Railguns fired, their projectiles crossing millions of kilometers in seconds. Nuclear missiles streaked forward, their drives pushing them to incredible speeds. Point defense systems activated, creating barriers of metal and fire. The Ravagers came on. They had learned from the previous engagement. They spread out more, making themselves harder targets. They used their smaller ships as shields for the larger ones. They adapted their approach vectors to minimize exposure to the railgun fire. But they could not adapt to the sheer volume of fire the humans produced. Hundreds of ships firing thousands of rounds every second. The space between the fleets became a death zone of flying metal and nuclear fire. Ravager ships died by the dozens. But there were so many. For every one destroyed, 10 more took its place. The swarm began to envelope the defensive lines surrounding it from all sides. "They are trying to encircle us," Webb reported. "Let them," Chen said. "All ships contract formation. Weapons fire in all directions." The human and council ships pulled into a tight sphere. They became a fortress in space, firing outward in every direction. The Ravagers pressed in, taking losses but gaining ground. A council ship, the Aurora's Pride, took too many hits. Its hull buckled. Ravager boarding pods attached to it like leeches. Within minutes, the crew was fighting hand-to-hand in the corridors. But they were not alone. A human destroyer, the Samson, pulled alongside. Marines in powered armor used magnetic boots to walk across the vacuum of space. They breached the council ship's hull and joined the fight inside. Dr. Ilara watched on the sensors. "They are sending their people to save ours. Why?" "Because they can," Threllick said, watching from Zenith Prime. "And because they believe it is right." The battle raged for hours. Human ships took damage but continued fighting. The Indomitable lost its forward railgun batteries, so it rotated to bring the rear guns to bear. When those ran low on ammunition, it used missiles. When the missiles were depleted, it used point defense guns as primary weapons. Captain Webb coordinated his crew with calm efficiency. "Engineering, I need power to weapons. Life support can drop to minimum." "Sir, minimum life support means the crew will be breathing thin air and freezing. Then pass out heated suits and oxygen masks," Webb replied. "We need those weapons online." Throughout the ship, crew members worked in temperatures barely above freezing, wearing emergency gear, their breath visible in the cold air. But the weapons kept firing. A Ravager capital ship, larger than any they had seen before, pushed through the swarm. It headed directly for the Indomitable. The organic vessel was covered in weapons, each one dripping with the same black material that formed the ship's hull. "Admiral, that ship is targeting us," Webb reported. "I see it," Chen said. "All ships in range, focus fire on that target." 20 human ships concentrated their weapons on the massive Ravager. Railgun rounds tore into its hull. Missiles exploded across its surface. But it kept coming. The damage they inflicted was not enough. "Ma'am, it is going to ram us," the tactical officer said. Chen made a decision. "All hands brace for impact. Engineering, transfer all power to forward shields. Captain Webb, activate the Tunguska protocol. Authorization Chen 77 Echo." Webb's hands moved across his console. Deep in the Indomitable's armory, antimatter containment systems activated. It was humanity's most dangerous weapon, something they had hoped never to use. "Tunguska armed," Webb reported. "Calculating optimal detonation point. The Ravager capital ship was seconds away." Its shadow fell across the Indomitable. Crew members grabbed onto anything they could. Some whispered prayers. Others simply held their positions, ready to die doing their duty. "Fire," Chen ordered. Antimatter missiles launched from the Indomitable and 4 other nearby human ships. The missiles flew into the heart of the Ravager swarm, into the densest concentration of enemy vessels. And then matter met antimatter. The explosions that followed were miniature suns, pure energy, unimaginable heat radiation across the entire spectrum. The Ravager capital ship simply ceased to exist. Everything within 1,000 kilometers was vaporized instantly. The shockwave expanded outward, shattering hundreds of smaller Ravager ships like glass. But the radiation was enormous. Several human ships were caught in the effect. Shields overloaded, hulls heated to dangerous levels. Crew members on the outer decks received lethal doses of radiation. "Damage report," Chen ordered, coughing from the smoke filling the bridge. "Multiple systems offline," Webb reported. "Casualties throughout the ship. But we are still operational." The Ravager swarm reeled from the attack. They had lost over 1,000 ships in seconds. The massive antimatter explosions had torn a hole through their formation. And for the first time, the Ravagers hesitated. On every human ship, on every council vessel, sensors detected the same thing. The Ravager swarm was pulling back. Not retreating, but reorganizing. They had taken casualties they could not ignore. "They are confused," Dr. Ilara said from Zenith Prime. "Their hive mind is struggling to process what just happened. They have never faced weapons like this." Commander Zix watched in amazement. The humans used weapons that damaged their own ships. They accepted radiation that would kill many of their crew, just to hurt the enemy. "Welcome to war against a Deathworld species," Threlix said quietly. "They understand acceptable losses in ways we never will." Admiral Chen knew they had only bought time. The Ravagers would adapt. They would return. But for now the line held. "All ships status report," Chen ordered. "Casualties, damage, ammunition remaining." The reports came in. Over 3,000 humans dead. 15 ships destroyed. Almost every vessel damaged. Ammunition at critical levels. The Tunguska Protocol had cost them dearly in radiation sickness and system failures, but they had survived. And the Ravagers had retreated. "Admiral," Webb said quietly, "we cannot survive another attack like that." "I know," Chen replied. "Signal to Commander Zix, we need to combine our strategies. His energy weapons and our kinetic weapons together. We need to coordinate or we will die separately." As the crew worked to repair damage and treat the wounded, Chen looked at the tactical display. The Ravager swarm was out there in the dark, thinking, adapting. They would return. And when they did, humanity and the Council would face them together. The battle was not over. It had only just begun. 3 months had passed since the battle at Corvan. The Ravager swarm had retreated through their dimensional rift, leaving behind only wreckage and dead worlds. The war was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council convened in their grand chamber on Zenith Prime. Every seat was filled. Representatives from all member species watched as Ambassador Threlix stood at the center platform. Beside him, projected in hologram, stood Admiral Sarah Chen. "Members of the Council," Threlix began, his crystalline voice carrying through the chamber. 3 months ago, we faced extinction. The Ravager swarm would have consumed our civilization. Today we stand here because of the humans. Because of their courage, their sacrifice, and their refusal to surrender. Murmurs spread through the chamber, some approving, others uncertain. "The numbers speak clearly," Dr. Ilara said, floating forward. "In the final battle at Corvan, humanity lost 62 ships and 34,000 lives. That is more casualties than the entire Council military has suffered in the past century. They paid a price we were not willing to pay ourselves." High Commander Zix stepped forward. The insectoid warrior looked different now. His mandibles did not click nervously. His posture was firm. "I have studied the humans' tactics. They do not fight to preserve. They fight to win. When retreat was logical, they stood firm. When the cost was too high, they paid it anyway. They taught us what true warfare requires." A delegate from the reptilian species stood. "But are they not dangerous? Their weapons, their aggression. Should we not fear what we have brought into our galaxy?" "Fear?" Chen's hologram spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm but firm. "You should fear. You called us Deathworlders like it was an insult. You saw our world and thought us savage. Maybe you are right, but that savagery saved you." The chamber fell silent. Chen continued, "You asked for help. We answered. We did not ask for payment. We did not negotiate terms. We came because people were dying and someone needed to stand against the darkness. That is what humans do. But what do you want?" The reptilian delegate pressed. "Surely you want something in return. Territory? Resources? Power?" Chen was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. "We want to go home. We want to return to our families. We want to mourn our dead. We want to rebuild. And yes, we want to know we are not alone in this universe anymore." Threlix touched a control panel. "The Council proposes the following. Humanity will be offered provisional membership. Full voting rights after a 50-year transition period. During this time, humanity will provide military defense for Council space. In exchange, the Council will share technology, establish trade agreements, and recognize Earth sovereignty." "You want us to be your military?" Chen observed. "Yes," Threlix admitted. "We cannot deny what this war revealed. We are not warriors. We evolved on peaceful worlds. We built our civilization on cooperation and trade. But the galaxy is not always peaceful. We need protectors." Chen looked at the assembled aliens. "And if we refuse, if we just want to be left alone, then we will respect that," Threlix said. But the Ravagers transmitted one final message before retreating. Our AI translated it, he paused. It said, "We remember. We will return. And we will adapt to humanity." The implication was clear. The Ravagers would come back, and when they did, they would be prepared for human tactics. "So we need each other," Chen said. "Yes." Threlix agreed. You need our knowledge, our technology. We need your strength, your warriors. Together we are stronger than apart. The vote was called. It was not unanimous. Some species still feared humanity. Others resented needing their protection. But the majority understood reality. The galaxy was dangerous, and humanity had proven they could face that danger. The motion passed. Admiral Chen returned to Earth 1 month later. The Indomitable and the surviving ships of the fleet were greeted as heroes. Parades were held in every major city. Memorials were erected for the fallen. The names of 34,000 humans were etched in stone, their sacrifice remembered. But Chen did not feel like a hero. She had sent people to die. She had made decisions that cost lives. In her quarters, she looked at the photos of her crew. So many faces that would never smile again. Captain Webb found her there. Admiral? The ceremony is starting soon. They are waiting for you. How do you do it, Marcus? Chen asked quietly. How do you command when you know people will die following your orders? Webb was silent for a moment. You remember why they volunteered. They chose to go. They understood the risks. And they believed it was worth it, was it? Worth it? Ask the 3 million colonists we saved at Corvin. Ask the council species that would have been extinct. Ask Earth, which now has allies instead of being alone. Webb paused. Yes, Admiral. It was worth it. And the people we lost would say the same. Chen nodded slowly. She stood and straightened her uniform. Together they walked to the ceremony. In the weeks that followed, humanity and the Galactic Council began the process of integration. It was not smooth. Cultural differences created misunderstandings. Some humans resented being seen as soldiers. Some council species struggled to trust the violent Deathworlders. But slowly bridges were built. Human engineers worked with council scientists, learning new technologies. Council traders opened markets to human goods. Joint military bases were established. The first integrated crews trained together, learning each other's tactics. Captain Webb was promoted to admiral and given command of the new Joint Defense Fleet. His flagship was a hybrid vessel, built with both human and council technology, human armor and weapons combined with council energy shields and faster-than-light drives. Ambassador Threlix became the council's liaison to Earth. He spent months living on the planet, experiencing humanity's death world firsthand. The gravity crushed his crystalline body. The oxygen levels made him dizzy. The weather terrified him. But he also saw beauty. Mountains and oceans. Art and music. Children playing in parks. He began to understand that humanity was more than just warriors. Dr. Ilara worked with human scientists to study the Ravager Rift. It was still there, dormant but not closed. She theorized the creatures could return at any time. But now the galaxy was ready. Now, they had humanity. 2 years after first contact, Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of a space station at the edge of Council space. Beside her, Ambassador Threlix looked out at the stars. Do you ever regret it? Threlix asked. Answering our distress call? Everything changed for your species that day. Chen considered the question. Earth had changed. Humanity was no longer alone, no longer isolated. They had allies, but also responsibilities. They had gained knowledge, but lost innocence. No, Chen finally said. Before we were just one species on one world, wondering if we were alone. Now we are part of something larger. Yes, there are dangers. Yes, there will be more fights. But we face them together now. The other council members still fear humans, Threlix admitted. They see your strength and worry what you might do with it. Fear is not always bad, Chen replied. Respect and fear can look similar. As long as we prove we can be trusted, fear will turn to respect. And if the Ravagers return? Chen smiled grimly. Then they will find out what a galaxy of united species can do. They adapted to council technology. But can they adapt to hundreds of different species all fighting together, each with their own strategies and weapons? Threlix's crystalline form brightened, a comforting thought. Deep in space, monitoring stations kept watch on the Ravager Rift. Human and council crews worked side by side, alert for any sign of renewed threat. The galaxy had been given a warning. The Ravagers would return, but when they did, they would not face a divided galaxy of peaceful species. They would face something new, something that had never existed before. They would face a galaxy that had learned to fight, and leading that defense would be humanity. the Deathworlders who had answered a distress call from strangers. The species from a nightmare world that had chosen to protect instead of conquer. On Earth, life continued. People lived and loved. Children were born. But now they looked to the stars with wonder instead of loneliness. Somewhere up there, friends waited. Allies stood guard. And if darkness came again, humanity would not face it alone. Admiral Chen returned to active duty, commanding defense fleets on the borders of Council space. Captain Webb trained new officers, both human and alien, in combined warfare tactics. Dr. Ilara and human scientists continued their research, and Ambassador Threlix wrote in his personal journal, "Today I learned a human word, hope. It means to believe in a better future even when the present is difficult. It is a Deathworlder concept, but perhaps it is what the galaxy needs most. The humans brought us hope, and that may be their greatest gift." The stars shone bright over Earth. In the distance, Council ships patrolled alongside human vessels, and somewhere in the dark, the Ravagers waited and plotted. But for now, the galaxy was at peace. The Deathworlders had arrived, and the galaxy was safer for it. The question was no longer whether humanity belonged among the stars. The question was how the galaxy had survived so long without them.